That brown ring around your toilet bowl isn't dirt. It's not even really a stain. It's a mineral fortress. Calcium, magnesium, iron deposits left behind every single time water sits at that water line and slowly evaporates. And the reason your current cleaner isn't destroying it permanently is because it was never designed to. It was designed to lighten it just enough that you'd feel like it worked. Go back to the store in 3 weeks and buy another bottle. What I'm about to show you costs less than $1. Uses 2 things already in your kitchen, and the reason it works so completely, in about 10 minutes, is the same reason it quietly disappeared from mainstream housekeeping advice sometime around 1955. Walk down any cleaning aisle and count the products promising. To kill toilet stains, there are 14 on average, and every single one of them has the same quiet flaw built in. They're pH reactive surface treatments. They sit on top of mineral deposits, dissolve the outer layer, and make things look cleaner. But the deposit itself, the actual calcium carbonate and iron oxide structure bonded to the porcelain, stays put, untouched, waiting to reappear in a few weeks. Once the cosmetic chemistry wears off, the household cleaning industry in the United States alone is worth somewhere north of $42 billion annually. A meaningful portion of that is bathroom products. And the engine that keeps that number climbing isn't innovation, it's repurchase. A cleaner that works once, permanently for 97 cents, is the single worst product that industry could ever bring to market. No subscription, no loyalty loop, no reason to come back. So they don't sell it, they don't mention it, they haven't for decades. They shifted the entire market towards surfactant-based sprays and bleach gels and foaming tablets that produce a satisfying visual effect and require consistent reapplication. And, in the process, something that housekeepers in 1923 knew as basic common sense got quietly left behind. This part genuinely made me angry when I started digging into it, because it's not dramatic. It's not a secret meeting in a boardroom. It's just the ordinary arithmetic of profit. And it costs the average household somewhere between $30 and $60 a year in products that half work by design. In 1923, a domestic science instructor named Margaret Hollis published a household management guide used in home economics courses across the American Midwest. It wasn't a famous book, it didn't get a second edition, but it survived in university library archives, and the section on bathroom maintenance has a passage that reads almost word for word like something a chemist would write today if they weren't trying to sell you anything. Hollis described what she called a mineral abrasion paste, 2 common kitchen ingredients combined to address the lime and iron deposits that accumulated in household toilet bowls, particularly in regions with hard water. The formula she documented wasn't original to her, she cited it as common household knowledge passed down from the late Victorian era, something housekeepers had been using for at least 2 or 3 generations before she wrote it down. And here's the thing that keeps coming up when you trace the history of effective cleaning methods: convergent discovery. The same basic principle appears in British household management texts from the 1890s. A similar compound shows up in a 1931 German domestic chemistry handbook. Depression-era American household guides from the Cooperative Extension Service, government-funded pamphlets written to help families maintain their homes on almost nothing, describe the same approach. 3 different countries, 4 different decades, all arriving at the same 2-ingredient answer independently. That kind of convergence is what happens when something actually works, not when something is marketed well. When it actually works. After World War II, the American consumer economy did something extraordinary and strange at the same time. Synthetic chemistry had exploded during the war effort. Companies that had been producing industrial compounds for the military suddenly had massive production capacity and needed peacetime markets. The result was a flood of branded household products, detergents, solvents, aerosols, entering American homes between roughly 1947 and 1960. These products weren't necessarily better than what existed before. In many cases, they were worse, but they were packaged beautifully, advertised on the new medium of television, and priced accessibly enough to feel modern and aspirational. The old knowledge, the stuff written in guides like Margaret Hollis's, didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because nobody had a financial reason to keep teaching it. Home economics curricula shifted toward consumer product usage rather than compound preparation. The assumption became that if you needed something cleaned, you bought a product designed for that purpose. The era of understanding what was actually happening chemically, of housekeepers who knew why something worked and not just that it worked, ended quietly, somewhere around the Eisenhower administration. And that's how 97 cents worth of kitchen ingredients became a $40 annual habit for the average bathroom. Here's what that ring actually is, because once you understand the enemy, the solution makes perfect sense. Hard water, which is most tap water in most of the country, carries dissolved minerals, primarily calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate, with varying amounts of iron depending on your local water table. When water sits at a fixed level, like the water line, in a toilet bowl and slowly evaporates, those minerals get left behind. Every flush brings a fresh load of mineral-saturated water. Every evaporation cycle deposits another microscopic layer. Over weeks and months, those layers fuse together and bond to the porcelain surface through a process that's essentially the same as limestone formation. You're not looking at a stain the way a coffee ring on a countertop is a stain. You're looking at a miniature geological deposit, a physical structure. Bleach doesn't touch this. Bleach is a sanitizer. It kills organic material, bacteria, biological residue. Mineral deposits aren't biological, they're geological. Spraying bleach on a calcium carbonate ring is like pressure washing a rock formation. You might clean around it. You will not dissolve it. Most commercial toilet bowl cleaners use hydrochloric acid at a very diluted concentration, usually around 8 to 10%. Acid does work on calcium carbonate. The problem is that at that concentration, with a 30-second contact time in a flushing toilet, you're barely scratching the surface. Literally. You're dissolving the outermost layer of the deposit and watching it wash away, while the deeper structure remains fully intact. It looks like it worked. Give it 2 weeks. What you actually need to break down a mineral deposit that has bonded to a porcelain surface is a combination of chemical action and mild physical abrasion working simultaneously. Not sandpaper abrasion, something fine-grained enough to avoid scratching the glaze. Chemical dissolution and gentle mechanical disruption happening at the same time, on contact, for long enough to work through the layers. That is precisely what salt and dish soap do when combined correctly. Salt, standard table salt, sodium chloride, is a mild abrasive at the crystal level, not harsh enough to damage porcelain glaze, but textured enough to provide that mechanical disruption. When salt crystals contact a mineral deposit, they work between the layers, the way fine sandpaper works between paint layers. They don't scratch. They interrupt. Dish soap does something more interesting. Modern dish soap is a surfactant. It lowers the surface tension of water and allows it to penetrate into crevices and layered structures. When you apply dish soap to a mineral deposit, it doesn't just sit on top. It works into the microscopic gaps in the layered calcium structure and begins breaking the adhesion between the deposit and the porcelain surface. It essentially loosens the grip. When you combine these two things, you get something more effective than either one alone. A paste that simultaneously loosens the deposit from the surface below, disrupts the structural layers within the deposit, and lifts the loosened material away. The reaction isn't violent. There's no fizzing, no chemical drama. But what happens at the contact surface is significant, and it's why 10 minutes is genuinely enough time to see results. The ratio matters more than most people would assume, and this is where the technique either works completely or produces only partial results. So, what's in the formula that Margaret Hollis described in 1923 and that cleaning product companies have had no financial incentive to remind you about for the last 70 years? Table salt, dish soap, that's it. Not coarse sea salt. The abrasive value is too aggressive and you risk micro-scratching the porcelain glaze. Standard fine table salt, the kind in the cylindrical cardboard container, that costs less than $1 and has been sitting in your cabinet since last Thanksgiving. Dish soap, original formula, plain, not antibacterial, not moisturizing, not the kind with added power boosters or grease fighters. Those additives change the surfactant profile and reduce penetration effectiveness. Original dish soap, blue, yellow, green, doesn't matter. The basic formulation. The ratio, 3 parts salt to 1 part dish soap by volume. Not by weight, by volume. So if you're using 3 tablespoons of salt, you're using 1 tablespoon of dish soap. This produces a paste with the right consistency, thick enough to cling to the vertical and curved surfaces of the bowl above the waterline, where the ring lives, without sliding off before it has time to work. Dry the surface first. This is the step people skip, and it's why they get inconsistent results. Flush the toilet and let the bowl drain, then take a dry cloth or paper towel and wipe the ring area dry. You want direct paste to deposit contact, not paste diluted into residual water. Apply the paste directly to the ring using a cloth, sponge, or your fingers with gloves on. Press it in. Don't just spread it across the surface. Actually work it into the deposit with moderate pressure. You'll feel the texture of the deposit under the paste. That slight roughness is the calcium structure. You're introducing the paste into direct contact with it. Leave it. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Not 8, not 5, 10. The surfactant in the dish soap needs adequate contact time to work into the layered structure of the deposit and break the adhesion at the porcelain surface. The abrasive action of the salt continues the entire time the paste is in contact. Interrupting this early is the most common reason the technique produces only partial results. After 10 minutes, take a standard toilet brush and work the paste across the ring with circular pressure. You'll see the ring begin to break apart. Depending on how long the deposit has been building, it may come off in one pass or require a second application. Older deposits, anything that's been accumulating for more than a few months without treatment, occasionally need a second round, but the first application will visibly reduce even severe buildup. Flush. Examine. What you're looking for is clean porcelain below the waterline, not just lighter staining, but the white or off-white of the actual bowl surface. If a shadow remains, repeat the paste application once more and give it another 10 minutes. 2 applications handle virtually every situation short of deposits that have been building, untreated for years. One note on safety. This combination is genuinely mild. Salt and dish soap are among the least chemically aggressive things you'll put in your bathroom. No fumes, no skin danger, no ventilation requirement. Standard gloves are reasonable if you prefer not to get the paste on your hands, but this isn't a chemistry project requiring precautions. It's a kitchen ingredient combination. The cost per application is somewhere between 15 and 30 cents. A standard bottle of commercial toilet bowl cleaner, the kind that requires reapplication every few weeks, runs between $4 and $7 and does less of what this does more of. You just learned something that the average person standing in the cleaning aisle will spend $40 this year trying to figure out. And the reason it feels almost absurd, 2 kitchen ingredients, 10 minutes, the problem is solved, is because the problem was never as complicated as the cleaning industry needed you to believe. It's a mineral deposit. Salt disrupts it. Soap loosens it. The rest is just contact time. This is the kind of knowledge that used to be unremarkable. Your great-grandmother didn't need a sponsored cleaning product to maintain her bathroom because she understood the basic chemistry of what she was dealing with. That understanding didn't become less useful when television advertising started. It just became less profitable for the right people to keep teaching. The average American household now spends somewhere between $400 and $600 a year on cleaning products. A significant portion of that is solving problems that have cheap, permanent ingredient-level solutions. Toilet stains, soap scum, hard water deposits on fixtures, grout discoloration. These aren't mysteries that require laboratory-engineered solutions. They're chemistry problems with kitchen answers that got quietly buried under 60 years of marketing. Go get salt, go get dish soap. Test this today on whatever ring situation you're currently living with. Mark the date and see what you're looking at in 10 minutes. And if this kind of reclaimed knowledge is useful to you, the real mechanisms behind problems that the product industry prefers to keep complicated, there's a lot more where this came from. Subscribe, and when I dig up the next buried solution, you'll be there for it. Drop a comment if you've tried this already, or if you've got a household problem you want me to run down next. I read those, and they shape what I cover. The information was always out there. We just stopped being taught it.